Hi everyone, how is everyone doing? Um, I hope we've been having a great time so far in the program. On my end, I've been having a great time. I just listening to one of the speakers, and yeah, really impressed at how far the program is going. And yeah, it's nice to be here with everyone. Once again, my name is Charles Egwuh. I'm a product strategist, and I'm also an entrepreneur, social entrepreneur at that. And yeah, I hope we're all ready to really engage in a topic I'm always super excited to talk about, which is UX, how how it has impacted me positively in how I think, how I see the world, and just about everything. Yeah, just about everything. So give me some few seconds to share my screen where we can dig into the topic in full. Thank you guys. Just a second, please. I'll share my screen. All right, let's go. So I hope we can all see my screen. So yeah, the topic of the day is design for real life, how US has changed my thinking, my work, and my world in general. This is inspired by the theme of the US Camp 2025, which is leveraging UX to amplify impact. So yeah, I'll dig right into the topic of the day, which is UX and how it has really impacted me. So what is UX? I want us to see UX as first and foremost is the short form for it's like an acronym for user experience, UX. But in the design world, instead of saying user experience design, we just call it user experience and we short to UX. So it's more like, so what is that UX? In the technical term, it's more about how people feel when they use our products and services, their experiences. So the design side of it is when we talk about what the various elements that come into place to make up what these users feel, especially the tangible parts and the intangible aspects of design. So let's say, for example, now we're going to be designing a product where people buy and sell, right? So the experience for this product is that when they come on the app, they use your app, they're able to buy and sell. And not just that, because that's more about the usability or the usefulness of the app. So now, another aspect of UX design is when we talk about the 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 experience for them, the journey. How convenient was it? Was it pleasant? Was it difficult? Were they able to navigate easily? So I think these are the various things that come together to form the user experience of a product. So UX is just an approach of problem solving users where that focuses on understanding users' needs and creating solutions that addresses them effectively. So not just solutions, but useful and usable solutions. So for a lot of us folks that might be attending this program today, it might be your first time, and for my professionals that's been used to the UX world, it's not a new word. But then I would like to really hit on it that UX is not new. From time immemorial, people have been designing a lot of things, right? So design goes beyond just the work of an artist. Design goes beyond the the designing of UI of products. No, design can be seen all around us from the way even we humans are designed. From the we can see how animals are designed, the animals like the goats have four legs, the birds have two wings. These are design in play, right? It can be as simple as how your phone was designed, how the roads you tread upon, how they are designed, right? The chair you sit upon, they are designed. So UX is seen all around us. How do people feel when they sit on what you construct as a furniture guy? How do people feel when they use the roads that are built by, let's say, Julius Berger and the likes of all these professionals? So this is UX. On my screen right here is the Colosseum. It's a 2000 years old building. It's in Rome, right? It used to be an edifice where gladiators come to, for war, or sometimes they use for various sporting festivals. So I really like this as an I really like this the idea of this Colosseum because a lot of various design practices must have gone into it, right? A lot of professionals because imagine an edifice that can house 100,000 people with faces and people at different heights can see the event. So for such to have been able to be achieved, it's just basically imbibing good US practices, right? Thinking about people. Okay, people have to, somebody has to sit at the third floor, somebody has to sit at the fourth floor. Everybody has to have access to this building. So how do we design these things so that people at different sitting positions can be able to view the events? That's UX for you. So yeah, again, in our everyday practice, we can see UX. Like this is a traditional woman in Africa. These guys, they practice UX like it's just in their DNA, right? Because, for example, um, these guys, they design these solutions so that they are sure it's solving the problem of the people they intend to help, right? For example, this woman wants to treat this man now, he has to diagnose, they empathize, they understand what the problem is from physical observations and from experience, right? Before they can now come up with the solutions to say, okay, this is eventually what's wrong with this guy. Yeah, like this, the bell on my right is an ancient stuff, right? That's always been. I think this these bells they were very prominent around the 16th century at the time when they were built, and you can imagine what processes must have gone into play to design this stuff so that anybody could be able to use um these devices, irrespective of the height they were. So this is UX in practice. In Africa here, our market women, they want to design their tomatoes so that it attracts the buyer, because they know that they understand. And this is more like visual hierarchy in design, right? Where you design the elements of the components of your design in such a way that is visually appealing. That's an aspect of UX, right? UX also can be seen in how our trails, our staircases, and the the wheelchair ramps are designed, right? You can imagine that before time, people had to carry the disabled on their wheelchairs. They had to lift them across the stairs. This used to be very inconvenient for guys, and I can't imagine the creative mind behind the design of the wheelchair ramp that makes it easy so that even the people on a two-wheeler can actually be able to access places that people with that the able people can tread upon. This is yes. So effects again can be seen in governments. Democracy is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. So the key aspect of UX that we all should take note of is that it it is user-centered, right? It wants to ensure the fact that the voices of people I had wants to ensure the fact that the solutions that we design are solving the problems of people and not just another solution in the shelf. That's the beauty of UI. Um, the picture on my right is an excerpt from the Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address during the inauguration of the Gettysburg Cemetery in Pennsylvania in 1863. So from all that we've been able to see so far, we all can already see that design is everything, as insinuated by Don Norman, who happens to be called the father of UX, right? Even though UX has been around for a while, I think he was the one that actually modernized it and target UX. A lot of names have come over time. Some people call it user-centered design, human-centered design. Just a lot of names have been called design. So yeah, let's get into now that we know what UX is and we understand what it means. I would like that I share with you an overview of what you were learning from my experience as a US expert. So today, I'll be talking about how my journey into UX has led me to understand the fact that UX is not only, or UX design is not only for products, it can also be used for people, right? Especially for impact projects in our personal lives. Yeah, and that's one of the things I would like to really enforce today. The UX is not just for designing mobile apps or whatever, it can also be used for impact designs or probably as long as you're a problem solver, UX is for you. So that's what I'll be talking about today. Next, I will share with you four key elements of UX that I personally have used, right? And it's really helping me when it comes to uh, amplifying impact. The last thing I would share with us is resources for us, whether we are professionals, whether we're just beginners, or you're just hearing about UX for the first time. I will share with you a few resources that I know might be helpful for us to learn more, grow into this UX world. So now, from product to people. So I think I would like that I'm able to share my journey as my journey into UX because there's a lot about it and how it has influenced me to see UX from a different lens. So first and foremost, I'd like to let us know that before anything, I have my first degree in mechanical engineering, and upon my completion in school, I came across a friend that was into social entrepreneurship at the time, and I felt like, oh wow, I would love to venture into this. So, irrespective of the fact that I had a degree in mechanical engineering, I sought for positions in a non-profit where I could learn more and build upon to build the foundation of my social entrepreneur career. That's how I found myself as the project coordinator for a non-profit, which is FAFIDEV. FAFIDEV is a non-profit design that's into youth development. So now I've been 6 years into the job as a project coordinator, and at some point I started to feel like then I wanted more out of life. I felt like okay, I wanted to learn a new skill that could uh, position me well to earn a living because it was more like all my years as a project coordinator, I was just volunteering my time, even though I earned a little, but over time, bills um, keep on coming, and I felt like, okay, there's a need to earn more, and that was how I started looking for work to transition upon, and that was how I met a friend of mine who was into UI UX at the time, and I felt like, wow, I love the fact that you could, without the knowledge of coding, put things together and prototype. So it got me really fascinated about the whole idea, and I was like, okay, you know what? I think this is what I would love to do because from time I've always been this ideologist. I'm always coming up with fresh ideas in my head, and most of them product ideas, but then I don't have any skill to make them happen. So as I enrolled in the Google UI/UX course online, I learned about UI UX. I was So a few weeks into it, the instructor started with UX instead of UI. So while I was learning the UX, as much as there was a lot of frameworks, right? The one that actually stood out for me was design thinking framework. I think that was what I was exposed to the more by my instructor. Although there are other UX frameworks, we have the lean and agile UX, we have the user-centered design, we have the double diamond UX honeycomb, basic framework, hard framework, and all of that. Maybe in your free time you could just do some Googling to learn a thing or two about these various UI, UX design frameworks. But like I said, one framework stood out for me out of this. And what was this? It's the design thinking framework. Um, I like I said, UX is more about designing solutions that are user-centered, right? And the beauty of design thinking is it does the same. It's a framework that's user-centered, and it's a five-stage framework that is user-centered and allows um, designers to come up with solutions that are iterative. And I love the fact that the framework was designed to have basically five steps. So these five steps makes it super like makes it very easy for designers to really just know that, okay, once we take this five, if you can conclude these five steps, we should be able to come up with solutions that solves the problem of our users. So what are these five steps, right? The first one is empathize. The second is define. The third one is to ideate. The fourth is to prototype the ideas. Then the next is to test. So the beauty about the design thinking process is that it's an iterative process. It's not a linear process. Iterative in the sense that you could, um, after designing your solution, after coming up with your solution, and you find out probably after testing, you found out the fact that it's not meeting the need it was intended for. You can go back to different steps or different phase of the design process to alter a few things. Maybe it's during the ideation session that people do not ideate well. It could be during the empathize session. I felt like, okay, I feel like there's still a need to empathize more. Could just be in the problem definition, whereby the needs of the users were not clearly stated. So I felt like, okay, wait. As much as this can be used to design products, I see the word empathy and I'm like, I'm a social entrepreneur. Every day, we are trying to solve one problem or the other that people are facing. But before my before coming across empathizing, I never thought about it that way. I always had this mentality of, okay, people have problem, let's go solve it. So since then, I've seen UX a different way. In fact, I stopped after the UX phase, I didn't do much of UI because I already fell in love with UX, and that was how I picked it up as a career. So now, what I want to make us understand here is that talking about UX is not, I'm not saying it's anything special. I'm not saying it's the only way to solve problems, right? What I'm trying to say here is that I want each and every one of us to see UX as another tool that makes our problem solving more efficient. So, for example, a lot of us um, a lot of us, or maybe few of us, or anybody that has a car, at one point or the other would have had issues with their car. But then, in the in some 10, 15 years ago, when there were no OBD2 scanners, right? Auto mechanics, right? Whenever there was a problem with their cars, they just they try to brainstorm, figure out and think about what the problem of the cars could be. So at this point, they were not so sure of what was wrong. They needed to test A, test B, try C, and this could be time consuming, costing more money. And again, they could still do all these things and still not find what's doing the car. the car, right? So it took longer times and the process was not so efficient. But introducing the OBD2 scanners that now mechanics can just plug into their car, do some diagnosis and know what exactly is wrong with the car even before taking up a spanner or taking up a screwdriver. This is what UX means to me. Now, the fact that I have now learned to better empathize with people, right? To understand the fact that, okay, I need to ideate, I need to define, I need to prototype my solutions and test, it makes problem solving more creative, and it increases your assurance of the fact that you're going to solve a problem or you're solving the right problem so that we don't waste our time solving the wrong problem. This is the beauty of what of US. So I want us to understand from that beyond just product designers, UX is a potential force for social good. Anybody, anyone, anywhere can apply UX principles and get great results their problem solving out of their problem solving skills, right? So, like I said, it helps us to be more efficient at coming up with creative solutions, because the most very important is that we want to save time, we want to save costs, we want to be creative, we want to be sure you're solving the right problem so that you're not like the mechanic of old where they're not so sure what they're trying to fix is the real problem. So, and this is what UX, that's why I'm advising that we probably learn more about UX and how we can use it in our day-to-day lives, and even when we are trying to come up with creative solutions to our personal lives and even in our communities. Now that we know what UX is and we know its benefits, I would like to share with us a few ways or few elements of UX that I have come across that I'm using in my everyday life, whether at work or at home or in my social impact, and I have proven to be resourceful over and over and over again. These four elements are the ones out of so many of them that I've seen that's really helpful when you're designing solutions that people will interact with, not just apps this time. So the four of these elements of UX that I would like to share with us today is empathy, collaboration, attrition, and accessibility. So what is empathy? Empathy is our ability to understand the needs and feelings of the people whom we are designing solutions for. For me, it is walking half a mile in the shoes of the people we hope to help, right? So that we can use our understanding of whatever their need or challenges are to come up with solutions that are useful and usable for them. In the business world, we want to be sure our solution is also viable. So that is what empathy is. Empathy is the ability to talk to our users, is able to use the ability to interview them. We want to organize field studies, want to organize case studies. The goal of the empathy stage is to be sure that we are solving the right problem and not just being obsessed about a particular problem we think the users have. This is the goal of the empathy stage. And how am I using this at Aspire? Um, Deal majorly with the youth. Before now, we will just think there's a particular problem and we go ahead and start solving it. But now, since I encounter what UX is, I love to engage with these ones. I speak with their teachers, I speak with the students, the owner of the schools, community members, so that when we are not just solving a problem we think exists, we are solving a problem that has a need. And we are sure that from our knowledge of what these guys think and feel, we'll be able to come up with creative and innovative solutions. The next the next element of UX that I'll be talking to us is collaboration. Collaboration can mean different things to different people, especially in the US world. Collaboration can mean bringing a team of people together, sometimes in from different fields with a goal to solve a problem, right? But then from a social impact field, there's something I would like to share with us today, and it is something that I really love. Like I mentioned in the when I was empathizing that we need to engage with our users, right? So that we can come up with solutions that really address their needs. So now when I'm talking about collaboration, this time I want to emphasize on designing with and not designing for, right? Most times we are always coming up with solutions for people without taking their input. And I remember I was taking a course on UX, and Don Norman was like, Don Norman is the father of UX, like I lastly said. He was of the opinion that the most times, even the people who hope to help have the solutions to their problem. We sometimes we are more like a catalyst to just come and join them, right? To join hands with them to design these solutions for them. So I feel like this is a very important aspect of UX that I've really learned and it's really helping me. So aside the fact that we can collaborate with other professionals, we can bring leaders, from various fields to design solutions. We should always try as much as possible to what put into consideration the thoughts, the knowledge, the wisdom of the people that we are trying to design for. I want, and another thing I would like to emphasize is that this, with this knowledge of UX of mine, I've been able to eradicate this hero or savior mentality we used to, or we social entrepreneurs usually have. We feel like we have the magic wand to the problems of the people we hope to help, and this is not usually the case. And this majority of the time has helped us to come up with solutions that only failed or they work for a very short period of time, and before you know it, it doesn't work again. And these guys are back to where we met them. So we want to ensure this is not happening. I'll share a case study from a story I had. I can't remember where, but then it's more about it talks about some guys in in the West, right? They heard about this village in maybe somewhere in Southeast Asia where there was famine or there was just hunger. Hunger. People were suffering from hunger, and these guys from a remote place was like, oh, you know what? We can just go there and just help these people. They researched online. They saw that these guys had good quality arable lands that they could use to plant foods and all of that. So yes, they left their country, who came to Southeast Asia, started requested for access. In fact, I think they bought some land just to cultivate crops like maize, millet, and all of these things, only to see that nothing was coming out because when it was time for harvest, the bears, right, came and ate up everything, and they were like, whoa, 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 wow, this is a wasted investment. But the problem with coming up with this kind of solutions is that these guys didn't really communicate with the villagers. They just felt like, okay, there was a problem of hunger. Let's plant some crops so that since they have land, they didn't ask the farmers, what was the problem? You guys have land. Why are you not using your land? So when we approach coming up with solutions like this, right? Most times it's short-sighted and it could end up not achieving the aim it was intended for. And that's why I'm advising social entrepreneurs, I'm advising a lot of people that if you're going to be designing solutions for people, it's very important that you take them into consideration, have these conversations with them. Don't just think you're a Superman or a Spider-Man or a neighborhood Spider-Man that has the solutions to all their problems, right? I think it helps us to save costs, save time, and like the theme of the program says, to amplify impact, right? So I pick the words of my mentor and my friend, Mina. She said, and I quote, when we fail to include the human story in the designs of our products and services, we fail humans, which seems more like what the well-meaning guys are just done. They wanted to create change by helping people, but at the end of the day, the solutions failed. And we don't want to keep up with these practices. That's why I'm advocating that if everyone has quality knowledge of UX and its practices, understanding the elements and the principles, and if you can imbibe them in a lot of the things that we do, I feel like there'll be more change. There'll be like there'll be quality results we achieve their aim around the world. Yeah. So the third one is iteration, right? Iteration, as we all know, is simply repetition. It's from the Latin word iterare, iterare, which means to repeat, to repeat. So what do I mean? In the world of design, what do we mean by repeating? So it's repeating, like I said initially, if you could remember when we talked about design thinking, right? I told you that the design thinking process is not a linear process, it's a non-linear process. Like if you can see the curve on the screen, iterate means to repeat, right? If we have designed solutions for people, it is in our office to pause and reflect, right? To ask ourselves the really important questions. If the intervention we have developed, if they are meeting their aim. So I want to be sure that the solutions that has been designed is being used by people and it is achieving the objective. So in some cases, it might not achieve all objectives. So we want to pause and reflect and study the situation, speak to these guys again, see our solutions in play, um, do tests, run tests, and all of that. Ask real questions. What are we not doing right? What are we doing right? For people that are designing programs, you want to take into account various, you want to get feedbacks from the people you are designing for. You want to be sure that your solution is achieving its aim. And when it is not, or most likely when it is most it's looking like it has not achieved all its aim, want to go back and reflect on various phases of the design thinking. So the idea of iteration is what repeating a process to make improvements, to evaluate whether the intervention is achieving its goal, like I said. So the idea of iteration as a UX element is to pause, reflect, and learn from what has been done. Then we'll take the learnings, right? Whatever we have learned, the insights from our studies, we take it back into what has been defined, and we keep doing that till we get a perfect solution. Let's take it back to the 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 bear story, right? Imagine now that they've learned the fact that okay, whatever we built was not working. They can come back and ask themselves the critical questions. What did we get wrong? What did we do right? Are there things we could have done better? What are the things we can remove? Stuff like that. I think it's this knowledge, right? Having this kind of approach to problem solving can really be revolutionary, can help us to come up with really beautiful solutions. And before you know it, like I said, the impact is being amplified. So the last element which I'll be talking about is accessibility. Accessibility is is just a lifesaver for me. It's a beautiful it's something I really cherish upon my coming across what accessibility means, because most of the time it's easy for us to design solutions that even create more barriers for people. And our solutions are supposed to be creating um are supposed to be eliminating barriers, not creating them. Let's imagine this staircase now. Is this guy on the wheelchair? He won't be able to use the staircase because of the design, right? While this was being constructed, I'm very sure no one thought about um, a disabled person using the staircase. But things have changed and times have changed. And now there's construction of elevators, there's the wheelchair ramp, right? It can even be seen across our hospitals, the road, even at homes, right? So the idea of accessibility is when we are designing solutions, we should always think about the people that might use our product, and we have to make sure we are not stereotyped into thinking about just one set of people. Our designs are supposed to wait for inclusion. Okay, who are the kind of people that would miss out if the solution is built this way? What can we do to make sure this set of people can also use our solution, right? And one beauty about UX that I've come across is even when designing accessible designs, right? There you have to be very sure you understand the difference between temporal disability and permanent disabilities, because these two can play a large role in influencing what your solution should look like. It helps you to save costs, because if you build a permanent stuff for people with temporal disability, you end up wasting time, money, effort, and it can be really brain draining. So that's one beauty of UX I really want us to really learn. So accessibility, I want us to take note, right? Is the idea of accessibility in UX is that we have to always think about a broad, instead of boxing ourselves into thinking solutions should work for a certain kind of people. We want to try as much as possible to think about various people that our solution can impact, and now we can design this solution in such a way that everybody can use them. And this is the beauty of UX that I preach to everyone and everywhere. In fact, in my church lately, I started talking to the leadership of the church on how the blind, the deaf, how can we take the gospel to them? Everywhere I go, I'm always trying my possible best to make sure that whenever we're designing systems, we are including the other people with diversifying attributes, so that our solutions are not just built with one one way in mind. So yeah, that brings me to the resources. Two key resources I'll be sharing with us for some of us that are new into UX and wants to learn more. I think the Google UX design course is a beautiful one, and it's something I always recommend. I think it's free. And to really learn more about how to use it beyond design, I think there's a section on the course designed for designing that is tagged design for social good. And this is still reinforcing that designs are not just for products, are not just for services. It can even be used in our everyday lives, in our communities, right? So, yeah. So, for my professionals in the house, for the ones that have not come across the interaction design foundation, I would like that you guys make out time to check their courses. They have a lot of courses that talk about designing both products and designing for social good. So yeah, come to the end of my presentation, and I want to thank you all for your time. If there's anything I want you to take away from this presentation, first is that UX is not new, it's not modern, even though the term is new. It has been practiced from time immemorial. Secondly, I want us to understand that beyond just a method or a tool, UX is a mindset. The ability to understand the fact that you have to empathize, you want to collaborate with your users, right? To design for them, to design with them. You want to understand the fact that the coming up with solutions it cannot be a linear, cannot follow a linear trajectory, because we it can it can be iterated. You can build something that's not working. You want to check to be sure you're building something that is meeting the needs of people, and that is the need for iteration. Then again, accessibility, very important that we design solutions that break barriers and not create them. So yeah, there's anything I want us to remember is that UX is not just for product designers, it's for everyone. It can be seen in the career of the doctor, architecture, students, father, mother, just about anyone can imbibe great UX practices. And it's a very, very creative way to come up with innovative solutions that is meeting the needs of the people we design them for. So is there anything I want to leave us with today? Is that I'm challenging us, challenge every one of us to think about how we can apply these US principles, the principles of empathy, collaboration, iteration, and accessibility. How we can use these elements of UX to what drive positive change in our personal lives and communities, not just at work. Thank you. I hope we learned, and if there are any questions, you can leave them for me in the comment section or probably in the Slack room. So thanks everyone. I appreciate your time and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.